Life Station. Welcome to Life Station. Hold your busy step. Feel real life. Step 6. A word of no win or loss. Only 2 bodies carried today. It's much fewer than the usual over 20. Of 2 deceased. One is neighboring resident. The other, carried from southern area of the mountain, 500 kilometers afar. Relatives have already laid the dead, wrapped in a blanket, at the open ground outside of the temple. Over 30 lamas, sitting around by chanting sutras aloud. It's already near evening. The chanting leader is a lama over 30, the key of leading dead spirit out smoothly, based on his performance today. If he performs well, the spirit of the dead will go back to paradise. On the contrary, the spirit may go to hell, or will be forced to wander between paradise and hell forever. The young lama's lean and over 40-year-old face shows that he doesn't care outside appearance at all, rather than having an earlier combination of his originally handsome face and facilitude. Surrounded by chanting lamas, the leading lama, sitting near to deceased, releases Qigong 3 times in a sequence, making the deceased soul leave from the fontanelle of his top skull smoothly. If the releasing fails, the future journey of the deceased will be full of hardship. If the release is successful, some transparent air will appear from the deceased top skull, and the transparent air will rise slowly, directly up to the heavenly Pure Land. After releasing, the leading lama smiles to show this leading process goes very well. The relatives of the 2 deceased and lamas all show their gladness. The aura emerging from deceased top skull cannot be seen by ordinary people. This is why Tantra is secret. The relatives walk up to thank lamas, giving everyone $1 and some fried snacks. One lama takes the relatives to guest houses to rest for the celestial burial held early tomorrow morning. The early morning sun sheds its first coat down from behind the faraway mountains. The cool breeze of July in Changtang is still somewhat chilling. Crows have already flocked together early by the celestial burial site. Although they are quite noisy usually, they are extremely quiet now. Crows seem very wise. There is no knowing whether it's their inborn habits or they have already realized then. Knowing everything has its order, and nothing can be forced. The celestial burial site is on the slope half a kilometer away from the temple. The road to the site is a winding, rugged, narrow path, and the relatives must backpack or use a stretcher to carry the deceased up to the site. No matter whether the deceased is high or low in society, it's prohibited to carry the deceased with cars or animals. The temple believes that maybe there is a distinction of high and low when the dead is still alive, while everyone is equal after death. Before entering celestial burial site, relatives must walk through a ghost gate. In order that ghosts in the gate can see the appearance and the inner mind of the deceased thoroughly, to judge where to go, paradise or hell. Then, relatives should backpack or carry the deceased to circle a living Buddha's bone tower nearby, appreciating the blessing coming from living Buddha's souls. Relatives circle thrice clockwise first to thank living Buddha, then circle thrice counterclockwise to welcome universal Buddha's light. Finally, relatives lay the deceased at the Badan located at central burial site to wait for the arrival of celestial burial mage. A celestial burial mage is a highly accomplished monk who has been taught by many living Buddhas. The sophisticated, open-minded celestial burial mage leads 3 assistants and walks slowly from down prairie a bit greenish, with the long shadow towing far in the neighboring valley. After paying regards to relatives and the deceased, celestial burial mage and his assistants take off robes, walking to the center of burial site. Then, slowly unpack the body bag and blanket to let the deceased greet the last worldly warm sunshine. King Eagle, the leader of eagles, has already arrived, and the following eagles surround it in silence. Standing on the holy eagle rock, King Eagle is the avatar of telepathy goddess, leading eagles and gods to and from various celestial burial sites, guiding the deceased soul up to Pure Land. After assistants guarding around with ropes, the celestial burial mage dismembers the body roughly with a sharp knife, then scatters samba on the body. After the mage leaves Badan, assistants let eagles in. Just a moment, the body that the deceased took good care of while alive becomes a lightweight skeleton. The mage says, "Human's body is nothing but a piece of skin." The bodies of 2 deceased, due to proper cladding and located in 4 to 5 kilometers high Changtang, 2 pieces of skin doesn't smell. However, after eagle's random gnawing, the skin has already been torn into thousands of pieces, some flying with wind, into numerous silks. Now knowing the 2 deceased, who lived several decades, win or lose, succeed or fail, have they realized the skin they borrowed has been returned. After eating up the body meat, eagles live in order, a trained well. Then the mage and assistants enter again, scattering samba on the skeleton. Then assistants break the bones of the dead with axes tied with sharp stones for eagle's second entering. After rapid gnawing again, King Eagle flies first, flying to the place it comes from. Under the guidance of thousands of sunlight, King Eagle will lead the deceased soul, flying to the place he comes, leaving the land he lived for decades, and letting everything return to its origin. The mage and his assistants put on their robes just taken off, and pay their respects to the deceased again. At this moment, those long-waiting crows have already entered to Badan to eat up left meats and bones. At last, assistants pick up and bring the dead hare that crow don't eat, and the missing bone pieces back to the temple. Hares will be burnt once a year, and bones once a month. The less the deceased lives in the world, the smoothly his soul will rise to the heaven, as with nothing to be worried. He will have no hindrance in the pure heavenly land. Relatives thank the mage and his assistants, as well as give them some rewards, some alms and fried snacks. The amount of rewards doesn't influence the ascension of the dead soul. People have different social status while alive. After death, all men are equal to receive Buddha's light. What the relatives do does nothing to the deceased, all depending on fate. In addition to having some alms and snacks, the mage and assistants will have body bags and blankets wrapping the dead. The deceased cannot take away body bags and blankets, as useless taken away. The mage and his assistants walk slowly down to the narrow path, with rocks scattered by, as well as numerous colorful small flowers merging from green clusters off and on, decorating the goose yellow land. The relatives follow down the hill slowly as well, regardless of turning head back again and again with reluctance. The shadow of the mage, assistants, and relatives, towing long again. Everyone is glad, since the deceased has already had no worries as well as lives with appreciation for no physical body. Wishing you safe, healthy, and happy. Thank you for your watching and subscription.